Hello, Ram55 here, and tonight we're starting out a new series. This one's European Ship Simulator. Now, I've been looking at ship simulators for a long time, and I've never really been able to find one that I like, so I figured I'd give this one a try. It was available on Steam. It's early release. You may have seen a lot of other videos presenting it. Tonight we're going to do the first mission in the series. It's a tugboat series, and kind of give you a review on how I feel about the game as we go along. Now, first off, I think the graphics are really good. I think they leave a little bit to be desired in the game development, and from what I understand, the game is going to be coming out for release here pretty soon. But I still think they have some things that they need to change in the basic game to make this a playable I want to come back to this kind of game again in the future. So we'll see where they go with this. So the controls are pretty simple, and right now I'm using separate buttons for the left and right engine, and basically I'm using keypad 7 to control the left engine to accelerate, and keypad 1 to control the left engine to reduce the throttle, and then 9 and 3 do the same thing for the right engine. Now, because we're right up against the dock, and I've been around boats all my life. I have been boating literally since I was 2 years old, and I've been operating boats since I was 5. And when a boat turns differently from a car, the back end of the boat is where the boat turns from. That's where the rudder is, it's where the engine is. So the force that turns the boat comes from the back. So as you turn to the right, the back of the boat swings to the left. The front of the boat, the bow, basically stays about where it was, and the back of the boat pivots around. So if you're up against a dock like I was, and I want to turn to the right, if I just turn the wheel over, the stern of the boat, the back of the boat, is going to swing to the left and bump up against the dock. Now in this game, boats sink very easily, so if you do any damage to them, they're going down. Hope you brought your life preserver. So the way to get around that, especially with a twin screw boat like this one, is to use just the left engine. So put the left engine in gear, move forward, and that's going to push the left side of the boat forward while the right side of the boat doesn't get any thrust, and it's not going to pivot like it normally does. So that's one way to get away from the dock when you have a twin screw boat. These things also have what appears to be azipods on them. In other words, the whole propeller seems to turn. I don't think there's just rudders down there. You know, tugboats want to be very maneuverable, and new modern ships, rather than have this big engine in the center with a long drive shaft going through the hull and then to some propellers at the back of the boat, and then beyond the propellers are rudders to turn the boat. The propellers don't do anything other than propel the ship. Anyways, the rudders will then turn the ship left or right. With azipods, sometimes they have motors underneath the boat, and they're in these pods. They have a propeller attached to them, but the whole motor can pivot 360 degrees. That gives them ultra maneuverability. They're pretty cool. Modern cruise ships are developing this. Tugboats have this because they need great maneuverability when they're in there pulling these massive ships around. They can put the thrust exactly where they want them to. So here I am on the inside of the little tug. This is the driving view. It's got like I said, outstanding graphics. It's kind of got like a radar picture over there to the left, the blue screen with the white on it. My ship is the green arrow, and looking around on the inside, you know, the graphics are pretty outstanding. I tried opening the doors, and unfortunately you are stuck in the cockpit. You are not able to walk around the ship, and I hope eventually they find a way to do that, because I think it would be awesome to be able to walk around the outside of the ship, and even more awesome to walk around parts of the inside of the ship. Let's go down and see where the galley is and the berths are and all that kind of stuff. I think that would be fascinating if they can do that. Now, I know it takes a lot of memory, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of computing power to do that, but hopefully that's the way this game will develop. So right now we're just cruising out at a reasonable pace. We're inside the harbor. You can see the entrance to the port dead ahead, a lighthouse on either side, and where I do my boating on the Great Lakes around Michigan. This is very typical of what you see on the west coast of Michigan, the Lake Michigan side. Primarily I do my boating out of Muskegon or Holland or Grand Haven, and they all have the very similar type structure where they have these piers that go out into the water to keep the waves down inside the harbor, and then there's a little opening just like what you see up ahead, and they'll have a lighthouse on either side so that you can find that opening in the dark and at night. And generally in this area here, they want you to keep the wake down. Now the wake is the waves that the boat makes as it moves through the water. So it's a fairly low speed area. The faster you go, generally the bigger the wake is with most boats, especially a displacement type boat like this. A displacement boat pushes the water out of the way as it moves forward, as opposed to a planing boat that actually, as it goes faster, lifts itself up out of the water, rides up on the top of it. It doesn't make as big a wave as a displacement boat as it moves forward. So I'm just kind of keeping the throttle down at a reasonable pace here, and we're just kind of moseying out. One thing that I wish they did better in this game is give you better instructions about what you're expected to do. Basically it just said go out and tow the ship in. Okay, where's the ship? How do I get there? Now if you look at the radar screen in the bottom left corner, that's again showing the same kind of little screen that I had on the inside of the cabin. The point I'm going to is that green round dot. So, you know, it gives you kind of an idea, okay, but once I get there, where's the ship? Do I go to the left? Do I go to the right? Do I go straight? So I just wish they'd given me better instructions before I'm actually in the mission. Now, having played this mission before, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. But as a first-time player, if you haven't watched somebody else do the game on YouTube, or you haven't done this scenario before, you really don't have enough information to really have confidence in putting your ship where you need it to go. So the water looks pretty good. Those are the white cliffs of Dover in the background, and I have no idea if they really look like that. I know there's white cliffs over there, but is this a real, like, photorealistic view of what Dover looks like? I have no idea. But one thing is that the wake, as you can see here, is kind of short-lived. It looks okay coming out the back of the boat. It's not fantastic. There's not much spray coming out the front of the boat. And in a moment I'm going to show you another game that I have already done some videos on that shows a much better wake representation, and perhaps they can incorporate something like that into their game, where you get a bow splash and a little bit more realistic looking wake. Now, there's no waves being produced by this boat as it moves through the water. Of course, we're going kind of slow right now, but you'd still expect to have some waves. You can see the white foam of the propellers churning up the water, but it doesn't last very long, and you don't see the waves going out behind the boat. Don't necessarily need the waves. I know that would be probably very difficult to do in a computer, but I think the white foamy part of the wake should extend further out behind the boat. Now here's a clip from Virtual Skipper 5, and you can see that as the boat goes through the water, it's interacting with the water, it's throwing off some bow spray. The bow spray actually changes the way the wake looks, and it has great interaction with the water. And look at how long that actually stays behind the boat. Just checking out some different video cams here. This is the cinematography, the little button, the little clapperboard thing on the bottom right. I clipped that, and now we're at a fixed point, and we're just basically watching the tugboat as it moves by us. Now you can see, looking from this view here, there's not much of a wake behind that boat. That should have a little bit more white foam, churned up water for, 20, 30 yards, maybe longer behind the boat. There's not much of a bow spray at all, but overall it looks pretty good. The other thing that looks kind of weird is the perfect reflection of the ground in the water. Now, in a perfectly dead calm day, yeah, it's going to look just like that. But if there's any water, ripples, waves, or anything like that, any wind at all, you're not going to see it that perfectly. You'll see kind of sort of a reflection of the shore, or in this case the piers or other boats. But if there's any water, it's not going to be that clear. It's not going to be a mirror image that it would be on a perfectly still, absolutely flat, dead calm kind of day. So that's something that's kind of a little weird, and I wish it wasn't quite like that. I wish it was more just like, okay, there's some reflection there, but it's not that glassy, smooth, perfect mirror image of what's on top. So here we are back inside. We're about ready to get through the opening at the front of the harbor. Now, another thing I've noticed about this game is that the AI ships are just running in a pattern. They have this little path. They just go round and round and round over and over again. They don't interact with you at all, as far as I've seen. They may stop, I'm not sure, in some scenarios, but in other scenarios they'll run right into you and sink your ship, and I'll show you that in later videos. So the first time I played this game, I came out here and I said, okay, now where's the ship I'm supposed to save? Is it that one over there to the left? And there's another one off to the right. Where am I supposed to go? Now in a moment you get that little Morse code signal, and then they give you another task, and okay, now if you look at the radar screen in the bottom left, there's now a green dot over the ship that I'm supposed to head to. So let's give it some throttle, and we'll head over to that ship and see what we can do to help them out. Now the first couple of games that I played in this, I was using the keypad to control the engine separately, and I could never get the throttles in sync. And I actually put in a review I wrote, I wish there was a button you could press that would control both engines at the same time, or a button that would center the rudder without killing the throttle. And I don't know if it was like this before and I just didn't know it. Again, the instructions are not real clear, but if you hit the W key, it goes forward, and the S key goes fast, and then you can steer using the A and D keys. So if you hit the W and S keys, you're moving both throttles at the same time. They stay perfectly in sync. So I'm glad I finally found that. Again, it was a little bit of trial and error to finally figure that out. So A and D turns left and right, W and S forward and back, and then you can control the individual engines throttle with keypad 7, keypad 1, keypad 9, and keypad 3. Now in some ships that will sail in later missions, they have thrusters. Thrusters are on the side of the ship, and in reality they're not on the side, they're actually built into the hull. They're huge propellers basically in the ship's hull that push you sideways, and they are outstanding for maneuvering in tight situations, making tight turns, and maneuvering close to the dock. And we'll talk about that in later missions. Anyway, side engines are controlled with keypad 6 and keypad 4. They move the boat right and left. You can change the camera view by hitting C. You can turn the lights on by hitting L. Also, if you're in the driving position, there's little toggles down there that will turn individual lights on. They have the nav lights on, which you need when you're running at night. And also there's a big spotlight that comes on the back that they would use in reality on this ship to light up the deck when the deckhands are back out there connecting lines to the boats that they're towing. Now apparently you can turn the reflections on and off using R. The horn, there's a toggle on the inside. You can toggle that to turn the horn on and off, or you can use the H button. And then as we get up here, we'll be using the T key, or the tug key. It's also that chain icon on the right side of the screen there. And what that basically does is highlight all the different places you can attach a line to on your tug. And then when you hit it again, it shows where you can attach it to the ship you want to tow. So in this scenario, I'm just going to put it right in the middle of the back of the boat, and I'm going to attach it to the bow of the cargo ship that we're going to be towing into port. Now in reality, one tug would not be moving this ship. You'd probably have at least 3, 2 on the back, 1 on the front, and probably as many as 4 or 5. to help control the ship. It's a pretty dang big ship, and controlling it from the front gives you no control of the back. And sometimes you want to pivot that boat around or push it sideways. You simply cannot do that with one tug, and this game doesn't let you do that. You cannot push the ship from the side. At least I don't think you can. I haven't tried it, but I don't think you can. I think you sink because it sees that as a collision. So we're slowing down here, got it in slow ahead, and we're moving up to the front of the ship. We'd be hailing the crew that would be on the cargo ship right now, saying, hey, we're here to give you a tow. Stand by to take our lines. And basically what you do is you'd heave them a really light line. You'd throw that up to them. They would grab that line, and that line would be attached to a heavier line on our tug, and then they would use that light line to drag that heavy line up to their bow. They'd secure it to one of the bollards or one of the posts on the front, and okay, we just hit the tug key, and you can see that those little red little things showed you where I could connect a line, and I'm attaching it to the front of the ship. So they would pull that light line up, drag the heavy line up to their ship, secure it. Once they're secure, we would get the go-ahead, and we'd be in constant radio communication between our ship and the ship that we're towing about control and what we want to do, what our intentions are, what we want them to do. Now, one weird thing, as I give this thing throttle, watch what happens to the bow of this big, huge cargo ship. My little tug actually drags the bow of that ship down. See those anchors getting closer and closer to the water? It's like, I don't think that would really happen. Yes, these ships are extremely powerful. They've got lots of torque. But come on, that's a very buoyant, very large ship. We wouldn't be dragging the bow down like that. So a little bit unrealistic. Another thing that's, in fact, it looks like it's sinking by the bow right there. So needs to be improved. Another thing that's unrealistic is look how short the line is between my tug and that boat. Now, that may just be a limitation of the graphic engine that they're using. I don't know, but it certainly would not be that short. The other thing too is that not only with this scenario where I'm operating my tug and we're pulling this ship into port, but the other ones where I'm actually operating the cargo vessel or operating a car ferry, the boat physics aren't realistic. It accelerates way too fast. It decelerates way too fast. I grew up living south of Detroit, right on the Detroit River, right where Lake Erie begins, and we have these Great Lakes freighters coming through there all the time. Pretty fascinating ships to watch go by, to watch unload, do their thing. But they are, back in the day, I think they were probably 400 to 600 feet long. Now they're making them over 1,000 feet long. Remember the first 1,000-foot Great Lakes freighter was called the Court. It was quite an impressive sight the first time I saw that in reality, out on the water, 1,000-foot ship on the Great Lakes. And when you're out there, like when I was younger, I would sail. You'd be cutting across the Detroit River or Lake Erie, and you'd see these freighters coming, and I was always afraid that I would lose the wind when I was sailing and have these freighters come bearing down on me. Even though they only travel at about 10 knots, they still take about a mile to slow down. Look, the way the bow is just digging into the water from my little boat towing it. Not really very realistic thing. So that needs to be improved. So anyways, these ships take about a mile or more to actually slow down. They actually put their engines into reverse to help them slow. And they are very ponderous, slow-moving machines, whereas in this simulator, I mean, they will stop in less than their own ship hull's length. So the physics are not realistic, and you see how easily I'm making this big cargo ship turn behind me. That wouldn't happen that easily either. It would take a lot of stress. In fact, I would be pulling the bow of that ship at almost 90-degree angles to get it to turn as efficiently as I want. And all I did was just basically turn toward the port, and that huge cargo ship behind me, weighing hundreds of tons, just follows me like a puppy dog. So again, ship physics, not realistic. So again, I'm coming back into port. You can see that my next waypoint is that red dot on the radar screen on the bottom left. And where am I supposed to go once I get in there? Do I go to the right? I see some docks over there. There's a quay to the right. There's a quay to the left. Where am I supposed to go? And I should be positioning my ship now to figure, depending on where they want me to go. And unfortunately, the instructions I got at the beginning of the game aren't specific enough to help me do that. I learn what I'm supposed to do next after I reach my next waypoint, and sometimes that's too late. It's not helpful. So I wish I had more information, tell me what's going on, where am I supposed to go. I'm just giving a blast on the horn, letting people know I'm a burdened vessel. I've got very poor maneuverability. I'm coming into the harbor. Here I am. Stay out of my way. So in a moment we're going to hear that Morse code signal, and basically it's going to tell me, okay, bring your ship into the dock. And it's actually going to be over there to the left of that inner lighthouse. Another thing I just thought of that they could do, rather than give you this typed-in message with this guy in his white suit up in the top left, they could simulate a radio communication. Have this guy come over the radio and say, "Hey, Captain, bring your ship over there," instead of just giving me a typewritten message. Have the guy on the radio. And that's the way I'd really be doing it. So now we're slowing down. We're inside the harbor. I try to drag the nose of the boat way over to the left and then bring it back around to the right so that I can get a better angle coming into the pier to get the boat tied up. And you can see that I'm actually pulling the boat at pretty sharp angles, and that's what you would really have to do in a large ship like that. You can't just kind of go where you want, because that boat is pulling on you as much as you're pulling on it. And to get it to go where you want, you're going to have to go at really crazy angles like this to drag the nose of the ship where you want it. So basically I'm going to try to drag the nose close to that quay over to the left. I just hit the target button over on the right. That little icon shows what side of the pier they want me on. So it's going to be on the left side of that pier. So I'm dragging the nose way over there to the left, and then I'll bring it back around to the right. And in reality, like I said, I'd be having a couple other tugboats out there helping me out on this mission. They'd be controlling the stern of the ship. We're going to try to do this with just one tiny little tug. So now we're swinging around, and we'll bring it in toward that pier. Hopefully we won't damage the tug or our cargo ship that we're pulling. So we bring it in. Speed's under control. Now I'm starting to get a little concerned. Is the back going to swing around and hit the edge of that quay? Some tugs on the back, that wouldn't be an issue, but since I'm just pulling it on the front, is it going to swing around and do some damage? And looks like we're going to be okay. Now in reality, this would be a game of inches in reality. Now, and there's got to be some compromise between a true simulator where it's absolutely like the real thing, because this whole process would probably take hours to actually bring this ship in and put it securely up against that pier without doing any damage to anybody or anything. And so there's got to be some compromise. I understand that. But things would be happening at a very slow pace, a couple miles an hour, pulling here, pushing there, controlling that ship every inch of the way. But as it is, I can come in and complete this whole mission in about half an hour. So like I said, it's a compromise between gameplay and reality. now I'm going to try to drag the bow of the cargo vessel as close to the pier as I can, and then kind of turn to the left. And hopefully the stern of the ship will follow suit and kind of swing up against the port. Now again, the ship physics are not accurately modeled. There doesn't appear to be much momentum. You can see the back of my tug is actually going to bump up against the pier. And if I try to turn to the left, my stern's going to want to push to the right to get the boat to turn left. And that pier's not going to let me do that. So the only way that I can actually get off that pier right now is to kill the thrust on my left engine, which is the port engine, and accelerate or give some throttle on the starboard or right engine, and that will ease me away from that pier. That's the only way I can get off it right now. The other thing you could do is actually put it in reverse, and then it's driving like a car, because now, you know, when you turn the wheel on a car, the front wheels turn and the rest of the car follows. When you're going in reverse in a boat, it's just the same, but it's the stern of the boat that moves and the bow will follow. So if you're going in reverse in a boat, it's just like a car. So I could turn to the right here and the stern will pull away from the pier, no problems. But if I want to go to the left from the front, the stern of the boat won't go to the right and I'm stuck on the pier. So the only way to get off is to accelerate using the right engine only. Left engine's in neutral. And now that I'm away, I can straighten it back out, drag the bow of the cargo ship up forward, and again, fairly slow process to get the boat to go exactly where I want. Now the stern of the cargo ship is stuck way out there, and I don't think there's any way I can actually get that in. Now, one other thing I wish they would do in this game, I hope somebody hears this and gets some feedback, but you know how we use the chain icon on the right, which is the T key or the tug key. You could see these little orange balloons basically where you could attach lines. It would be nice to be able to do that when you bring a vessel into a dock. Hit that key so you can actually tie the vessel up when you get to the pier. I think that would be fun. I think it'd be more realistic. I've actually ended some scenarios like I will here where the ship is stuck way out like that, and they said, okay, great, you did a great job. Well, when I look at that ship the way it is right now, that's not a great job. That thing's not ready to be secured to the pier yet. If I could throw some lines to some bollards on the pier, attach them to both my ship or the cargo ship that I'm towing, and then kind of drag it over, I mean, to me that'd be more satisfying than leaving it stuck, still out in the water, unable to unload, unable to get the crew off. So, you know, I wish you could actually tie it up to the dock or the pier. So now I'm just dragging the boat forward, and I don't think there's any way for me to get the stern of that ship over. It would also be kind of cool if they had some people on the pier, either just walking or fishing. I know when I go along the pier at Muskegon or Grand Haven or Holland or Traverse City or anywhere on the Lake Michigan side, there are hundreds of people just walking along. They're fishing, they're having a good time, they're out enjoying the water, enjoying the beautiful day. So I wish they would do that in the simulator too. Again, more computing power, probably more money. So there we are. We left the boat kind of stuck out in the water. They said, good job. I wish we could have tied it up and actually brought it in and secured it a little bit better. But that's it. Hope you like that video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you feel like you're so inclined. And please leave comments. I'm trying to make better videos, and I need your feedback to do that. So I'll be back with another mission in the European Ship Simulator soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you out on the water.